Pump it up, pump it up.
Trae.
Come on, come on.
With Trae.
Pump it up, pump it up.
It's the day with
This is the day to gain inspiration, to make a positive change in the nation. We're inviting you to partake in conversation, to raise your vibration. It's the day that we will all celebrate all of our peeps that make this thing elevate. Watch the negative fade away, cause it's the day with Trae.
Grand Rising, everyone. I get to welcome you to a Thank-Filled Thursday today. I'm really excited and thankful for my guest who's joining me today. Miss LueRachelle Brim-Atkins is in the building. She is an amazing person who's associated with the Sister Cities Association. So we're going to be talking all about what they do and this amazing event they have coming up. And I'm telling y'all, when you have folks here on the Day with Trae that are always pouring into community, I love to be able to sit back and uplift and learn. So we're going to be getting into all of that today. But of course, you know, it's the top of the show. So it is time for you to get into it with us. Go ahead and share this show with folks who you feel could benefit from a daily dose of dopeness from right here on the Day with Trae. You know, we love to try to work that in and give it to you every weekday of the week. And of course, if you can't watch our TV show, don't worry, y'all. We got you covered. You can always listen to our TV show anywhere you find your favorite podcast. That's the beauty of technology. We can be in multiple spaces at one time. So if you cannot watch us, you can always listen to us. Just search your favorite platform and look for Converge Media Network in the Day with Trae. You'll find us there. Well, before I get into it after the break with Miss LueRachelle from the Limbe Sister City Association, I want to share something with you about what it means to give back. And when I have somebody like Miss LueRachelle here, I just want to talk about this because as we get older, we learn more. And as we find ways to give back to those who have either poured into us or unbeknownst to us, did things that were for the benefit of other people, ultimately, we all benefit. Now, I'm always talking about this togetherness and this oneness and what it means to be in community. But oftentimes, folks don't understand that this continues with you as you become an elder, as you get older in age. There are so many different ways that your wisdom can pour into the next generation, current generation, future generations, so that they can continue the work. And really, sharing your experiences is one of the things that allows people to have a real solid purview of what this work looks like for others. Now, I'll say this, I'm grateful because in my life, I'm around a bunch of different elders who have always been a part of movements, of community organizing, of Black liberation, of lifting people up, connecting with youth, being a mentor, being a part of the solution, as I'm always encouraging you to do. And the beauty of it is this, from so many of my elders, there's like one thing that rings true for me, and it is never stop. You know, that is what they show me. They show me what it means to never stop because they pour into me in such an intimate way. And honestly, I got you. Honestly, it is something that has fed me more times than I can even count. Seeing so many of my amazing elders in community continue to give, continue to uplift, continuing to inspire folks, continuing to be visible and be present when it comes to our community events, when it comes to our celebrations, when it comes to those times when we have to get together to celebrate someone else's life who may have passed on. Seeing my elders in space pouring into me so I could pour into you. It's a beautiful cascading network. And when you become a part of that in your community, in your neighborhood, in your network, your circle of influence and beyond, I'm telling you, there's something that you really may not understand until years of that happening for you, where you look back and you recognize that so much of the energy you are carrying is because others are pouring into you, so you have that energy to carry it forward. And for me, it's a great lesson that I want to exemplify for my children, for my grandchild, and more to come, I'm sure, for my family members, my friends, and my loved ones. Because living something is always going to be more impactful than talking about something. And that's what my elders show me day in and day out. Baby, they live this. All right? They don't just talk about it, they walk about it. I get to see them walk about it. And others get to experience the beauty of their wisdom because they continue to do this work. So I'm going to tell you right now, after this break, y'all going to hear from an amazing elder in our community who is walking about it, baby, and doing it big. Miss LueRachelle Brim-Atkins is joining me up next, right after this break. Stay tuned. You definitely don't want to miss this. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Here on Back to Basa, it's always been important to me that we uplift stories from across the region and that no matter where you live in the nation, you never have to miss a moment of the show as we continue to highlight the beauty, excellence, and resilience of our communities across the Pacific Northwest. Why? Because representation matters. So no matter where you live, be it the Central District or Centralia, Portland or Pullman, or anywhere across the country, I encourage you to join me on this Back to Basa journey by downloading the free Fox Local app on your phone or smart TV as we continue to elevate the very best in our communities.
Big Tobacco thinks they know everything. They think they know you, your community, the places you go, and the way that you spend your time. They think they got you all figured out, down to a formula, a calculation based off of numbers of what they think they know. Show them they're wrong. Learn more at theythinktheyknowyou.org.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. Joining me right now is Miss LueRachelle. Hi.
Hi. So happy to be here with you.
Yeah, it's always a pleasure to have you here so we can talk about the Limbe Sister City Association. Now, you've been doing this work for a long time.
A while now.
I remember when we first connected, and I recognized I didn't know that we had Kenya as a sister city. I didn't even know that this association existed. So for those who may not know, can you tell us a bit more about the Sister City Association?
Surely. So Seattle has 20 sister cities, and we have a moratorium on sister cities. So we can't add any more until the city council says yes. But we have 2 in Africa. One is Mombasa, Kenya, and the other is Limbe, Cameroon. And I'm co-president with Alfreda Lanier of Seattle Limbe, Cameroon. And people don't necessarily know where Cameroon is. So we say it's down below Nigeria. People know that, and it's right on the coast. So,
wow.
yeah.
And sister cities do things for other cities. What is the work of the association?
Yeah, so let me just say, first of all, Dr. Millie Russell is the person who established this. She and her husband, Ed, established the Seattle Limbe Sister City Association and Mombasa. Yeah. And the work of sister cities is to make personal contact, one-on-one contact between citizens. President Eisenhower started sister cities years ago, and his belief, well, he survived the war, and he didn't want people to continually go to war. So he said the way to avoid that is to get people talking to each other, interacting with each other, so that if we know people, it's hard to go to war with them if we sit down and talk and eat and drink and have a good time and hang out with them. So our goal is to make connections with people in Limbe, but our first goal is to make connections with people in Seattle. So my premise is you don't go all the way to Africa to make connections if you haven't made any connections in Seattle. So we do a lot of cross-cultural work so that people can sit and talk with each other. We do that through our menstrual care products that we create. You know about that. And so we have people who are Christians and Jews and Muslims and people who are not affiliated with a spiritual belief necessarily. We say if you're breathing, we welcome you, and we come and make menstrual care kits that are reusable, sustainable, so that girls in Africa can stay in school when they have their periods. One of the other things we do is help people say the word period, because especially in my generation, we didn't talk about periods. So, you know, it was a kind of a hush-hush conversation. And we say to people, just say period, and the sun will still come up someplace, maybe not in Seattle, but someplace in the world, the sun will still come up. So we encourage men to say period and to understand that if they have a mother, a sister, an auntie, a friend, a wife, they have periods or had them at some point. So that's part of what we do. The other thing is we try to make connections through cultural exchanges. So we learn drumming and we learn dancing and anything that we can to make connections with people. And we have all kinds of projects, which of course I'd love to talk to you about.
Of course. I mean,
Yes.
that's why it's so beautiful to have you here again, because y'all always have a great things going on. Tell us about some of those projects.
Well, the Menstrual Care Project is one, and we've taken almost 5,000 reusable, sustainable menstrual care kits to girls in Africa. And I say girls in Africa rather than just Cameroon, because Cameroon is in civil war at the moment, so we don't travel, we can't travel to Cameroon. But we took kits there, and then when we travel to other African countries, we take the kits, we train the girls on how to use them, and we meet every fourth Saturday at First AME Church to create these kits. Before COVID, everything is pre or post COVID.
Yeah.
But before COVID, we met at a mosque, a synagogue, and a Catholic church. And because sometimes you've never even talked to a Muslim or a Jewish person knowing that they're Jewish. And so we just say, come on and sit down with us. Make these kits for girls that you may never meet, that it'll help them stay in school. So it's a beautiful thing to see. We still do that. Fourth Saturday, 10 to 2, First AME Church.
Wow.
Yeah, so that's one of the things that we do. Right now, we are paying teachers to tutor children who were displaced by the civil war in Cameroon. So we pay salaries to some teachers so that they can help these kids catch up. They were not able to be in school because there was war going on in their area. So that's one of the things we do. We also pay 2 nurses' salaries at a rural clinic in Bawa, Cameroon. This clinic was built by a professor at Eastern Washington University who grew up in Bawa, and his mother died in childbirth because there was no clinic. So he said he didn't want anyone else to have that experience, so he created this clinic in Bawa. And the biggest project that we have is bringing clean water to Cameroon. We take this bottle and drink it and don't think anything about it. Or we turn on the faucet and let the water run while we brush our teeth. I've stopped that. We let the shower run so that we can have water the temperature that we want it. We just take it for granted. But once you travel to some places in the world, you realize that water is a luxury. And in Cameroon, there was a hospital, the Limbe Regional Hospital, that did not have water, did not have enough water, I'll put it that way. So we dug what they call a borehole, which we call a well. They dug a borehole and installed a whole system that provides clean water for the hospital, Limbe Regional Hospital. And what we call a faucet, they call a stand tap. And they built stand taps just outside the wall of the hospital so that kids from the neighborhood can come there to get water. And that supplies several thousand people from our project that we did in collaboration with local Rotaries and the Limbe Rotary. And so right now we are working on a project to bring water, clean water, to a neighborhood, Mokindi neighborhood in Cameroon. The sources of water, they have 2 sources, private homes that have their own borehole, and they put a stand tap outside the wall of their home. But people might go to a private home and there's a lock on the water. So you have to be there when they unlock it, and you don't know when that's going to be or when they'll lock it again. And the other source that for the McKinden neighborhood is to walk down to the ocean. There's a pipe that comes from the mountain, and ice cold water comes out of this pipe. So you have to walk to get that water, about a mile, carrying buckets, and usually it's the women and the children who are going to gather the water. You cross to get to this source, you cross 2 busy highways, and there have been 12 children who've been hit on that highway trying to get water. And you get there, you gather the water. Now you've got to carry it back uphill because it's flowing downhill, right? You carry it back uphill to your house. And who knows how many, depending on the number of people in your household, you could make that trip several times a day.
Wow.
There are also bathing stations where some of the women bathe or wash clothes at the river, at the base of the river, and then take their wet clothes back up. So we see that, and it's one thing to say, "Oh, ain't it awful?" It's another thing to say, "What can we do about it?"
Yeah.
So Seattle Limbe Sister City Association says we're taking that on. This is our second water project, and we're determined to have this system put in at the top of the hill so that people can get water there and not have to walk so far.
Well, this is really, I mean, you just gave so much for us to understand the nuances of what folks are dealing with in these cities across the globe. Because really, you're absolutely right. We take so much for granted
So
here.
much.
And when I came back from Kenya, I worked on a water project there. And I'll tell you, it was the most eye-opening experience for me because immediately I started telling my family about naval showers. I'm like, you turn the water on, you turn it off. Like you get wet, you turn it right off. You soap up, you wash
Rinse
your
it
body
off,
off,
and
and then you turn it on to rinse off, and you turn it off. Like,
Yeah.
right? And people are like, really? We got to do all that. So I started doing that,
Yes.
and then trying to teach my kids. It's interesting because when you know better, you do better. That
Yes.
saying is real.
Yes.
And it does mean that we have to make some changes in our lives to start balancing the scales there. Because I don't want to be one of those ungrateful Americans who just, we get to these other countries and they're like, what's up with you and why? And then you can't connect because you have everything in your back pocket. It's so true. So thank you for sharing the projects y'all are working on. It made me think about all of this too, because you've been involved with the Sister Association for a long time. How did you actually get involved in this work?
Well, I knew Millie Russell, and I would do anything that Millie was doing. And I've always had an interest in Africa. There's an expression, we are African, not because we were born in Africa, but because Africa was born in us. Kwame Nkrumah said that, and that's the way I feel about Africa. I've had an interest in Africa all my life, and I'm not sure. I grew up in Naples, Texas. I'm not sure how that happened, but when you go someplace and you see how people live, and they live with joy and resilience and promise, even if they don't have all the stuff that we think makes a life, then that's how I got interested in Africa. And sister cities, I love the idea of people making connections one-on-one. Government is fine, but if you can circumvent government and just go sit and talk to somebody. I've been to Mali and we sat outside on what I would call a porch, just a dirt floor, outside huts, and we didn't talk. We don't know the language and they don't speak English, but we just connected to women, just pointing to the beautiful pottery that they made and trying to communicate and feeling the joy in that. So you can communicate without language. That's one of the things Sister Cities has taught me. There's an expression that we're using for this fundraiser that we're having, and it's, until you carry your own bucket, you don't know the value of a drop of water.
Wow.
Until you carry your own bucket. So if you think about, would you want to carry a bucket on your head up a hill filled with water that weighs, water is heavy. And Sister Cities has helped us learn how to carry someone else's bucket,
How beautiful.
not
is
just
that?
ours, but somebody else's bucket.
This is why I get to thank you publicly for all the work you're doing. It's just so appreciated because, again, your experiences are informing me. It's informing others. And that is how you spread that joy and that
Yeah.
love. But y'all do have an event coming up
We
this
do.
weekend. I want to hear all about these details.
And we are very excited about it. We call it A Taste of Africa. This is our second year doing this. We will have dancing and drumming and singing and African cuisine prepared by an African chef, a fashion show of Gaston Gear fashions, silent auction that has some amazing items for a silent auction. We're just happy to do this because we get people from all walks of life who come and sit and talk and eat and dance and give us money to do our work. And it's on the 28th, the Saturday, the 28th of September from 1 to 3 p.m. And it's at First AME Church. And I just have to say, I'm grateful to, First AME is my church, but I'm grateful to our church for reaching beyond the walls of the church because there's a big community out there that's not a member of any specific religious organization. And what good does it do if you just sit in your little enclave and have service and oh, hallelujah, and ain't that a good time? And then nothing outside the walls. So my church is very supportive of the work that we do. We have an organization called Sarah Ellen Sisterhood, which I'm a member of, and we co-sponsor this Taste of Africa. Last year, people had such a good time. They didn't want to leave. This year, we anticipate it'll be equally fun if we just, tickets are $50, and that work goes directly to our work in Africa. So you know how some people have organizations and they have big fancy buildings and pay a staff? Well, none of us get paid. In fact, we spend more money than we would ever be paid just to get things up and running. So we really hope that people will come and support it on Saturday, the 28th of September, 1 o'clock. People can come in at 12:30 and we start promptly at 1 o'clock. Promptly. Promptly.
Yes.
Promptly
Well,
at 1 o'clock.
This is exciting because it gives people an opportunity to learn more, experience what you're talking about in terms of cultural exchange
Yes.
opportunities, and really immersing ourselves in cultures that sometimes are outside of our own. But again, it goes to the mission and vision of Sister Cities to say, if we know about folks all over the world, they become those that are our loved ones, those that we can care for, those we
Yes.
can build relationship with.
Yes.
And then why would we want to go to war with them? I just love the mission and vision so much. Of course, if folks are trying to just tap in, if it's a volunteer organization and you need help with those kids, how do they find you all? I want you to look right there and let them know how they find you.
Okay, so we have a website, of course. It's www.seattlelimbe, and Limbe is spelled Limbe, seattlelimbe.com. And you can go on there and buy your ticket for the event on Saturday. You can find opportunities to volunteer. We need people to come and help us create the kits. We have all kinds of volunteer opportunities, people who will usher as people come into the event on Saturday. There's always something to do. And, there's a scripture that says the harvest is plentiful. It's the laborers who are few. So join us. We'd love to have you, not just Saturday, but anytime to help us do the work that we do for Africa.
Wow.
Yes.
Miss LueRachelle, thank you so much.
I love you, Trae.
I love you so much.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
Y'all, I'm going to tell you something. I get to wrap up this goodness right after this short break. But before I go to break, I just got to say, this is what I was talking about at the top of the show. Somebody who is walking the walk and not just talking the talk. Y'all, I'll wrap it all up right after this. Stay tuned. You're watching The Day with Trae.
Seattle Opera presents the world premiere of Jubilee. Jubilee follows the historic Fisk Jubilee Singers' initial tours following the Civil War. While raising funds for the fledgling Fisk University, the group shared their music around the world, showcasing more than 40 African-American spirituals such as Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, Deep River, and Wade in the Water. Jubilee is not to be missed. October 12th through 26th at McCaw Hall. Details at seattleopera.org.
Hello, welcome to Elite Insights with Carlos Humani. We're looking to offer an in-depth look at event production industry through the lens of client experiences and joint successes. The podcast will emphasize guest interviews, focusing on client discussing their fields and reflecting on their collaboration with Elite Collective. Again, you're with Elite Insights. Carlos Humani here. See you guys in a few.
Africa Town Plaza is our latest affordable housing development project. It's 126 units of affordable housing over community commercial space.
It's the first time in my career, and I've been doing this for 10 years, that I was able to design for people who look like me.
Africa Town Plaza is a beacon of hope.
Africa Town Plaza is a love letter to the community.
You on my mind a lot, don't need no time watch. I don't know how I got you in my pocket spot. Yeah, that's babe, need you every day. You seem like the barging down, got my heart no barging in. From the bed to the floor to the couch, might wake the neighbors up. Break you in and break you out. In the end, we gon' make a child. Then we gon' hit the show. Part 2, we don't need no pause. We miss you, we gon' get tipsy, don't need a power spot.
Copy my steel, face the fact that. Copy my steel, face the fact that.
Welcome back, everyone, to The Day with Trae. I'm your host, Trae Holiday. I got to give a huge shout out to Ms. LueRachelle Brim-Atkins. Of course, if you cannot attend the event, you can also go to their website and make a donation. All donations are welcome and clearly will help the work that they are doing to make an impact in Africa and here locally. I mean, this is exactly what I'm talking about, y'all. We got to hear about how they are intentional to bring people from all different walks of life together to commune with each other, to build relationships locally so that they actually begin to understand different perspectives, lived experiences, backgrounds, religious institutions. I mean, that's really what it means to be in community. It's not always being isolated with just those that may be in your same background or walk of life, but there's something to be said for organizations that make a true attempt and create a space for people to be able to share each other's experiences. We're talking about what they do in a big way, because taking all of that local connection and finding ways to be intentional about global connections so that relationships are being built. People are getting to know each other. They now can say, oh, when I was there, when I met so-and-so, the experience I had over there was this, was that. I got to see how they live. I got to understand a new perspective. For me, this is why I said to my kids, traveling globally is one of the biggest impacts you could ever have on your own life, because it is pure and it is true through and through, honestly. And for me, I got to experience that myself. And so I'm encouraging you all to support our Sister City Association. She said Seattle Limbe Sister City Association. You can go to seattlelimbe.com. If I got it wrong, she said it right. But make sure you do. Get to the website, check in with them. Every fourth Saturday, they're making these menstrual kits that are so helpful to these girls globally, y'all. So if you can't attend the event, maybe you can only give some time, please give your time to an amazing organization that's truly making an impact. Now, y'all know I was inspired Okay, I just sat here in awe as one of my elders got to tell me all about the work she's doing and has been doing for quite some time. So I want you to be inspired. That's what this show is about. It's about inspiring you, because whatever it is that you do, if you're pouring into others, you can see yourself as a part of the solution, as Miss LueRachelle showed us she is today. Thanks so much for watching, y'all, and I'll be back with y'all tomorrow. Until then, at 11 a.m. Peace.
Converge Media produces culturally relevant content for Black and urban audiences. Our coverage is raw, transparent, and objective, praised by community leaders, government officials, and residents. Support Converge Media today via Venmo, Cash App, or PayPal at Converge Media.